What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today, did you ever want every single enemy you fight to be blinded? Well, then do I have the build for you, and so let's get started. But just before we do, this video is sponsored by Guild Wars 2. Honestly, I owe this franchise my childhood considering how much Guild Wars I played. GOAT contention MMO in my opinion, but they're back stronger than ever with Guild Wars 2 being one of the highest rated MMOs of all time. They've got a healthy, diverse, and inclusive community that's only going to grow because it was just launched on Steam for the first time. And their latest expansion, End of Dragons, is out right now with a ton of brand new content. Guys, there's over 200 hours of gameplay to experience completely free, no subscription required. But with all that being said, I will admit that joining a new MMO, especially one with as much content as Guild Wars 2, can be pretty daunting. But your boy has you covered there as well, because if you click the link in the description down below, you're gonna get an experience boost pack and a mini pet for your new Guild Wars 2 character so you can hit the ground running. Definitely something I'm gonna get back into, and I would highly recommend you guys try it out as well. Click that link, gamer. Alright, now this is an Arc 3.0 Hunter build, and again the goal is just to blind every single enemy we see. The result of that is very good. Blinding enemies, that debuff, before it kind of officially became an Arc debuff, was used in endgame content for years and years and years. Blinding grenade launchers, there will be one in this build, have been some of the most useful crowd control tools in the entire game, used in Grandmasters, Day 1 raids, etc. Extremely effective to have an enemy not be able to attack you back and just kind of slowly be wandering around. It lets you set up some extremely high damage gameplay loops and scenarios, which we also have plenty of with this build. So let's talk about the first thing you're going to need, that is the subclass setup. So we are going to be running the brand new Gathering Storm Super, it's quite good. Then we have Gambler's Dodge, we have Combination Blow, and importantly we have the Flashbang Grenade. Our aspects are firstly Flow State, where defeating a jolted target makes us amplified, and while you're amplified, the dodge recharges quicker, and you're more resilient while dodging, and you have better reload. Then we also have Lethal Current. So after dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates an aftershock, and damaging any jolted target with a melee also blinds them. Moving on from there, for our fragments, we have Spark of Resistance, more damage resistance while surrounded. We have Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified makes an orb of power. We have Spark of Shock, your arc grenades jolt targets. And we have Spark of Brilliance, defeating blinded targets with precision damage creates a blinding explosion. So already we have quite a few synergies going on. Essentially, thanks to the aspect Flow State, we are going to have basically 100% amplified uptime. Like, we are always amplified with this build, and the result is your dodges come back so much more quickly and you have more survivability when you're going around and dodging. And then Lethal Current gives you a bunch of melee benefits when you're using your super fastly recharging survivable dodges, right? So the thing is, to achieve this, we need to be constantly jolting targets. So a really key aspect of this build is the first weapon we're going to look at here, the Brigand's Law. Specifically, you need one with Volt Shot. After reloading this weapon, after defeating a target, overcharge this weapon for a short period of time, causing it to jolt on its next hit. So by far, a Brigand's Law with Volt Shot is the easiest way to get consistent jolts on targets that I've found in the entire game. Even, I think, arguably more so than the fusion rifle, the new exotic fusion rifle, the Delicate Tomb that came with the season, simply because you have infinite ammo with the Brigand's Law. Like, you want it to be on a primary so you don't have to worry about suddenly desperately needing a special ammo brick to continue the insane gameplay loop of jolting everything and always being amplified. But what does that have to do with blinding, right? This so far sounds like an always amplified build. Well, that is where the featured exotic armor piece comes into play. It's actually the Bombardiers. So, this has the armor perk Parting Gift. Dodging leaves behind an explosive that detonates after a short delay, damaging targets around it and creating a secondary effect based on your subclass energy type. And for Arc, you blind targets. Right, so this is where the build comes together. We're always amplified, which means thanks to our aspect, we have a much faster recharging dodge that also gives us more survivability when we use it. And so that means we are spitting out constant blinding explosives thanks to the Bombardiers. And on top of that, going back to the weapons here, guys, the special weapon we're using is, of course, a Pardon Our Dust. This has blinding grenades just built in and autoloading, and it has Demolitionist, so we can get a flashbang grenade back more often. And we're ending things off actually just with a Legend of Acreus, a fantastic arc weapon. It was actually given a big buff. If you have the Catalyst, that gives you Trench Barrel, so you get a melee kill, you get 50% more damage on the Legend of Acreus. This thing absolutely slaps when you set it up. And how easy is it to set it up when everything you're fighting is blind, right? That's the entire purpose. So you're running in, opening things up with a shot from your Pardon Our Dust, getting in close, getting that melee, a couple shots in the Legend of Acreus, dodging to reapply blind and damage everything, getting a smooth getaway, maybe throwing a flashbang grenade to cover your tracks. You're in and out, you've done a ton of damage, everything's blind, you haven't taken a single shot. It's pretty nuts. But let's go over the rest of the build. So, first of all, we do have Radiant Light for that plus 20 strength. Remember, your melee is another avenue of blinding targets if you hit a jolted target. Then after that, we do have Elemental Armaments for well production. Then we've got Bountiful Wells, so more well production. Then after that, we do have Powerful Friends. We want 100 mobility so we can spam the Bombardier explosives as much as possible. And then after that, we do have Font of Might for more arc weapon damage. And holy crap, when this thing's active, the Legend of Acreus hits like a truck. And then we actually have room for Amped Up. So it's only one energy, but you're gonna stay amplified longer, which is obviously very valuable in this build. Now, a lot of you might be thinking about, what about Trace Evidence? Defeating combatants affected by arc debuffs spawn an Ionic Trace. Blinded is an arc debuff, Jolted is an arc debuff, but guys, when I tried to use this thing, as you can see, I'm blinding targets, I'm jolting targets, I didn't really see any Ionic Traces spawn. So maybe this is bugged, maybe it's just inconsistent, maybe I'm dumb. All three are extremely possible, but if you can get it to work, like just by reading it, it should be super synergistic with this build. I just didn't find it that good in practice. However, when you combine all of these things together, you have a build with so many different avenues to blind targets. The main way is simply going to be with your Blinding Grenades grenade launcher, right? That by itself can crowd control like crazy, but it's not always the best option. It especially lacks when you start moving in up close and personal. It's not always the best to whip out and try to shoot a drag as it's running next to you. Sometimes you miss and then you're screwed, and that's where the Bombardiers really come into play. You use that Pardon Our Dust to get close, and then you use the Bombardiers to consistently reapply that blind effect when you are up close and personal with a powerful target and your Legend of Acreus going to town. And again, you also have those melees. If you have a jolted target, likely a more powerful enemy, and you smack him with a quick melee, that's going to blind him very good. And you have those grenades as another potential avenue as well. And remember, those can potentially jolt targets and start things going with that as well, so you don't always have to just rely on your primary to get that jolt chain going. Definitely a really fun build I would recommend trying. And so guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.